Hello everyone, welcome to Caroline's Craftery. Today we are going to do a little tutorial on a woven tag. This is what we are going to do. Now the first couple I did were a little time consuming and I had to really think about it, but after I made a few, it wasn't so bad. So I'm going to show you what I did. So I've got a whole bunch of strips. These are 1/4 of an inch wide. Now you could do these strips whatever width you wanted, but I would recommend that they be all the same. You could do them different, and you would get a totally different effect on your journal cards. And this is just a digital tea-dyed paper that I had laying around that I cut up. These are the ends that I used because I will use those. And then just a piece of cardstock. This is a 65 pound. This is just a digital kit that I had. And I cut the paper into, let's see, what size did I cut them into? Mine are 3 by 5.5. You could do them any size you wanted though. So let's get started. I've got some glue. This is just a cheap glue. I'm trying to use it up, so I'm just going to use it. So the first thing I do is I get a pen and I put a little arrow on the top. Now the reason I do that is because sometimes I get confused on which is the top and I just like to know which way is up. I'm going to take my first strip. I always start the first one up by this corner. Now, what kind of angle you put it on is totally up to you. You know, you can do big angles, you can do little angles. I usually do about that. So it's a couple inches down from that corner and right up by that corner. Then I'm going to hold it just like this here. I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to put a little bit of glue up in this corner. And then I'm going to fold this over. Now this first one kind of goes up over the page just because of the way that you fold it. So we got that on the back, that on the front. And now I'm going to still hold that and I'm going to flip it this way. Trim that off. Got maybe 3/4 of an inch there. And then I'm going to put some glue on there. And then I'm going to fold that over. I try to make my folds nice and tight against the edge. Doesn't always work out, but... So we got that. I'm going to get rid of this little piece right now. There we go. So there is the start. Now you could use any strips you wanted, any paper, same with your base. I thought it looked kind of cool with a pattern behind it because then you get all these different colors showing through. So now my next one, I'm going to line it up, just eyeball it. And I like mine about 1/4 of an inch in between the two strips. Now same thing, got it hanging over about 3/4 of an inch. Flip it over. This time I'm going to put glue on the strip itself. And then I'm going to fold it over while I hold it in place. And then we're going to make sure that back is down there. And then we got this. this, we're going to snip that off. And again, about 3/4 of an inch. Flip it over. Now you can flip it over however you like, just as long as you can see the back and reach the back. And now I'm going to fold that over and to the back. Make sure I get it all down. The back is going to get covered, so we don't have to worry about it being too neat and tidy. So there's number 2. Let's do one more. So then this again, and I'm going to hold it about 1/4 of an inch. Hold it down so it kind of doesn't move, because you want it to stay even where you want it. Because if it moves a bit, let's say, and then I fold this over, then I can't move this over or it's going to pucker up. So you want it to be fairly, you want to keep it even while you're gluing it down. Put a little bit of glue on there. Fold it over. And now I'm going to do it this way. And again, you can snip that off. These little pieces, they're only really good for the corners. And I will show you that in a second. And there we go there. Glue it down. So now I'm going to do this over the whole thing. I'm going to keep going. When I get down to like the very edges here, that's when I'll use the little pieces. Just use as many of them as I can. So I'm going to keep going like that. I've got a few here that are kind of in the different stages just to make it easier. So this is one where I've gone all the way along, right up to the top, right up to the bottom. Keep it going. You know, this was my first strip here that I put on right there. Or actually, I lie, it's this one here, because there's my little arrow on which way was up. So that's the first strip I put on there. So now we're going to do the weaving part, which is actually very easy. Now I'm going to start over on this side this time, because the first time I started here and did this strip. Now I'm going to start from here and go this way. So basically over and under. So get that under, over, under, over, under. Now I want this one at relatively the same angle. So this was my first one. So this one's going to go to about like that. And I've gone over, under, over, under, over, under, and then over. Now, sometimes it might not always work out the over and under with the very last piece, depending on where it falls. So let's hold this down again and glue this down. Now this first one's going to stick up over the edge like it did on the other side. Just like that. Make sure that's glued down. And again, I can trim this off and glue this side down. As I say, the first couple I did were a little confusing, but after I did a few, it actually got a lot easier. So there is our first one for going that way. Now the same thing, but this time, of course, I'm going to go over the ones that I went under. So this one here, I'm going over, under, over, under, over, and just keep going down to the end on about where I want it to go. So there is going to be our 2, and again I'm going to leave about 1/4 of an inch just because I like it. Now you could go right up and do it solid if you wanted, which would actually look very cool, I think. You could even do 2 together and then skip and do 2 more. You could do some kind of pattern, but for mine, I'm doing kind of a 1/4 inch between them. So again, so this one I've gone under that one, so I'm over. So I got over, under, over, under, over, under, over. The first few I did were not very nice. But that's okay. I stayed with it and figured out a bit of a system. And now we can snip this off. And put that there. And fold that over. And there we have our second one. Get rid of that end. So now we're going to go and do all of it over the whole tag, same as we did the other direction, and that's going to give you the woven effect. So now we've got this one, which I've gone both ways on it. Now these are not glued down, the strips, so you can see, I think I might have put a little bit of glue there and there just to stop it from rising too much, but I think having that airspace underneath them, it kind of gives it just a totally different feel. And you couldn't glue these down because then how are you going to weave them in and out? So we've got that like that. We've got the back, my arrow on which way was up. Now for this, we are just going to back it. Now, I didn't dig out a piece of file folder, which was what I have been using. Let's see. I know I've got a whole bunch of... This isn't file folder, but it'll do. I want something fairly heavy because of the fact that I leave a little border, which makes it easier because these do stick out a little bit because you've got places where there's 2 layers of paper and then where there's none. So you get a little bit of a rugged edge, which is okay. That's why I went a little over with the file folder. But I think this one will work fine. So I'm just going to glue that down onto here. And this one I'm going to use art glitter glue for because I do want it to be a little stronger glue. And I'm just going to glue up the back. Make sure I get around the edges really good. You could, instead of folding these over, you could very easily leave them stick out and then just trim off the edges. I just happen to fold them over. So we got that. Let's just put that down. When I'm gluing something like that down, I like to just turn it over where my paper's nice and smooth, and then I can really push down on it. And I don't have to worry about my piece on the other side moving. So we've got that. Cut that off. Let me get my paper trimmer. This is my little one. This is one of the Tonic Studio ones. Love the guillotines. And I'm just going to trim it. And I want like it away from the edge, like maybe 1/8 of an inch, if that. Just trim it off. And see there. It just made doing the edges so much easier, and it gave it a nice finished touch. On the first couple I didn't do the backing over the edge, and to me it looked uneven. Not that that really mattered, but it wasn't quite the look I wanted. So I did it this way instead. Okay, let's put the cutter over there. So now we've got that. Now in reality I should have inked this part first, but you know how it goes. Let's put some ink. We can catch that with the inking now. But I should have inked it before. But that's okay. It will still be good. Ink that up. Let's ink the back really quick so you have a nice back for journaling on. And then you could further decorate these down the road. I want to make about 20 of them and then have them, and then as I put them into a journal, I would add some extra stuff on it to go with the journal, but the main work is done. Here's another one that I made. As you can see, I did stitch around it, and I will stitch around this. I'm not sure if you can see how that is standing up right in here, like it's, but it gives it a little extra, I think, extra dimension. Looks like, it's all, I didn't put any glue under this one, so. But if I decorate it and I put something on there, it's going to help hold it down, like a nice flower or something would go perfect on there. But I will stitch them all, and I usually stitch with a neutral type color, just because then when I go to use it in a journal, I don't have to worry about matching up the colors. Mind you, this one, it's got the pink on it, so I'd probably put it in more of a floral journal or something, whereas this one with the colors of the teal would be good in like an ocean one, even though it's not an ocean theme, but the colors would go good with an ocean theme. Same with this here, the colors in the background. So this gives you an idea about these woven tags. I really like how they look. I think they're really super. You could use different kinds of strips, different colors, different whatever. I just happen to have some of this paper, so I just cut up the whole sheet. So I've got a bit for different ones. But yeah, here's the woven tags. Hopefully you'll try it. If you have any questions about it, please leave a comment, because I do answer all my comments. I think I try to answer all my comments. And check out the Facebook group. I've got Ko-fi. I've Ko-fi, the Ko-fi site. I've got Etsy. Yeah. And we'll see you again soon in another video. Have fun. Bye.